your record light on. Oh, there you go. Okay. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Being none. Business, item 3.1, Cobalt Water Treatment Plant programming changes for filter backwash. Does anyone have questions? Dave is online. Does anyone have any questions or concerns from Dave? Okay, Angela.
Angela's on mute. Sorry.
After this fix, is there anything in Dave's opinion that there still might be outstanding that is going to be a surprise to us?
No, there shouldn't be any more surprises, I don't think, but no, I'd say no.
Okay.
Can everybody hear Dave's response?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Bill?
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Through you, Your Worship. Dave, once this is installed, do we have any kind of warranty on the program that if something happens that they're going to replace it or whatever, or is it just like a one-time deal and that's it? Do you know?
That Bill, not sure offhand if there's any warranty with that, but we can sure ask NOS if there's any warranty with it.
I would appreciate that. I think that would be really important. I mean, this is an expensive program and we'd sure want some backup on it, some kind of a guarantee that it's going to work for, you know, it's going to give us, I don't know what they give on the warranty, usually a year or two, but it should be, there should be no, I mean, if they have to do a fix or whatever, I would expect that would be covered.
Okay. Continue on with what Bill was talking about. Dave, is there any upgrades that will be required that you can think of or know of, or in a year's time they change something we have to go and, you know?
No, I think this would be probably the last one.
Okay. Any more questions of Dave? Bill?
Yeah, one more question. I'm sorry. Through you, Your Worship. Do you have access to the program, Dave, or do you like to make fixes or whatever? Or is it just going to be, if there's any issue, you have to phone the installer?
Yeah, if there's any issues, I'll have to call NLS themselves.
Okay.
And get them to tweak it.
So none of us have any access to it as well?
Just through the water plant. Just at
Right.
the water plant.
I'm not sure what you mean.
The programming at the water plant, that's the only access you have with any of this programming.
Okay, but do you have, does anybody from PW have access to the actual program?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Matthew?
Nope, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, I got another question, Dave. Now, if we need work on this program, and I know again what Bill is getting at because I've worked in that field myself for many years, and it's kind of good that we don't have access because people can make several mistakes playing with that stuff. And if we do have to have some programming changes made, can they be made remotely?
Yes.
I think the last one was from Montreal, eh?
These guys they don't have to come in and do it. They just do it on remote.
Okay.
I
know what you're talking about, Bill. Quite.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good thing.
Okay. So we're hoping that this is going to solve the major problem?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Okay. Everybody, any more? Doug?
Just wondering, David, when this is going to get installed?
Not sure. Whenever they have a chance to do it. So when it's approved, we'll give Alex a call and tell him to get on it right away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Dave? Okay. Thanks a lot, Dave. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
I'll move her in the seconder now to.
So can I read the resolution, if you don't mind?
Yeah, you can. Sure, sorry.
Be it resolved that council approve the request to change the programming for the backwash sequencing in order to improve the operation of the filters backwashing process during normal operation. Council has chosen NLS Engineering to do the PLC programming work at a cost of $1,600 plus HST, and that the costs be placed under the funding of the water treatment plant upgrade project by way of change order through the contingency.
Mover and a seconder, please. Matthew and Pat. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 3.2 bylaw enforcement officer RFP posting review.
Be it resolved that council approve the RFP documents as presented or amended and requests staff to proceed with the RFP posting with a final response date of Friday, May 15th, 2020, and a closing time of 2 p.m.
Okay, before, has everybody had an opportunity to look at the posting and we're all good with it? Okay. Go ahead, Angela.
I had one question. I had heard from another contractor that their insurance was suggesting that 2 million liability for general liability was actually a little bit soft and recommended they should have a little more than 2 million. I'm wondering if we may want to investigate that part of the RFP. Just because he does have a very high probability of running into issues.
Matthew?
Through your worship, I had the same concerns, but maybe the wording in the RFP could say a minimum of $2 million. Because it's a contract position, we're giving what we'd like to see. However, it would be up to the contractor as to the insurance coverage that they'd want to go with.
Angela?
Sorry, my only concern with that is if there's a shortfall on his contractor's insurance, I could see the town then being named in whatever the situation may be as well. That's my concern.
Okay, so can we look into that, Brian, a little further? But we still want the RFP to go out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Through your worship, if that's the case, then maybe we need to adjust the dollar amount now, and then do some looking into it. And then in our negotiating with the tender after the package comes in, we could suggest to them at that point that $2 million would be sufficient if that's what they can bring in. The other option that we can investigate is we can look at our own insurance company and see what the cost would be to add this coverage or by law enforcement contractor through our own municipal insurance. However, that's a bit of a tricky place to be as well.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, Matthew?
I would hazard to provide any additional coverage to the municipality because that could constitute, in the eyes of a judge, an employer-employee relationship where we want to keep that arm's length with the contractor. So if we're going to change the wording, maybe we can change the wording within the RFP to accommodate what we're looking for now, so we can get that posted and get the applications in before the May 15th deadline.
Okay. Doug?
I'm wondering if the language could be changed to a minimum of $2 million or an amount as required by the town of Cobalt. And that would give us an opening to increase it if our insurance company would advise so.
Go ahead.
I can just read what we have there. It says the contractor shall provide, maintain, and pay for general liability insurance in the joint name of the contractor and the municipality with a limit no less than $2 million, inclusive per occurrence for bodily injury, death, and damages to property, including loss of use thereof. So it does state the minimum requirement is $2 million. So if we want to make an amendment to that, we could change that language.
Suggestions? Do we want to make an amendment to that? Go ahead, Angela. And Bill after.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to think how to word it. So could we do an amount of minimum 2 million or the current recommended minimum? By industry standard. I'm just throwing wording out there. This is off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, you want Brian to write it up and run it? Well, we would like to get it out as soon as possible, obviously. Yeah. Go ahead, Doug. Oh, sorry.
I like Angela's suggestion very much, and perhaps just adding wording like amount, not a minimum of $2 million or an amount recommended by the industry standard, something like that. I like that.
Matt, you had something you wanted to, or Bill?
No, Your Worship. I'm fine. Thank you.
No, I'm fine now. I think my question was answered.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead, Brian.
Can I just read back the amended text, if you don't mind?
Please.
The contractor shall provide, maintain, and pay for general liability insurance in the joint name of the contractor and the municipality with limits of no less than $2 million or an amount recommended by the industry standard, inclusive per occurrence, blah, blah, blah.
That good for everybody?
Yep.
Good for me.
You happy with it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so just my question again, just something up the top of my head. Through you, Your Worship, sorry. He would be responsible for that insurance premium, would he not?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we have no, we don't, because he's contracting, we don't pay anything on that, I would presume?
No.
But what I'm hearing is that it may not be suffice to have $2 million, that he may want to have more to cover in case something happens out of the ordinary. So we're not actually helping pay that premium. I mean, he is responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct.
We're just telling him, I believe,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, how much that we wish how much
Right.
insurance
Right.
he has.
Yes. Then I would agree with the statements that came from the rest of the councilors. I mean, we don't have nothing to do with paying the premium. It would be entirely up to him.
Okay. Good. So we're ready to make a motion on this one then? If you want to reread it, Brian, and I'm sorry, Doug.
I was just going to say so moved. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doug's moving.
Could I maybe just ask one more question of council on a separate document? And the document is the one that actually has the job description. And I wanted to know council's thought.
Oh, yes.
So under experience, we have 3 years in municipal or ministry-related administration of bylaw enforcement, property standards, or provincial offenses. Do we want to maybe make this more open to other types of individuals, such as maybe retired police officers or people that might have been conservation officers or things of that nature, and maybe open the language up a little more that so that they would be interested in applying other than someone who has municipal experience? It's just a suggestion.
Yeah. Angela?
But I thought it had provincial offenses experience in there as one of the, so that would cover police officers or any,
No.
would it not?
Yeah.
So
If
I think it's pretty well covered.
Okay. So any other, go ahead, Angela, and then Bill.
The one thing I did wonder about when I read the job description is it sets out that he have to be available evenings, weekends, during the daytime. But is there some kind of wording we can put in there that for patrolling is the way it's worded? I'm just wondering, and that if we could put something in there to cover the fact that they could be called out for an incident at various hours. It may not be during a regular shift, regular business hours.
I thought it was in there. I thought
Yeah.
I'd seen-
I thought it was.
Yeah, it is.
It says for patrolling, I thought.
Go ahead, Joe. Joe?
You're muted.
If you look right at the bottom where it says work schedule, it says work schedule may vary and will include days, evening, nights, and weekends. Doesn't that cover it all?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well it does, I guess, I would think. Doesn't get much simpler than that, I believe. Are you good with that?
I just wanted it to be clear that it could be a last minute thing that they could be called out for.
Well, I'm sure if we call him out on the weekend, it's going to be a last minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's planning on scheduling himself. I just kidding.
I'm just
Well,
trying to cover
could-
the basis.
Yeah, we
because
could.
Common sense isn't always common.
How would you want to write this then? How would you want to, Matthew?
Through you, your worship. Essential duties and responsibilities, point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Be prepared to do daytime and or evening and weekend patrol to observe, make notes, be prepared to charge and give testimony in provincial offences court. That, when paired with the work schedule, work may vary and will include days, evenings, nights, and weekends, doesn't give much wiggle room or room for, skewed interpretation. I think we're being pretty clear.
Yeah, and patrol is covered in there.
It's not patrol I was worried about. It was last minute call outs for incidents. That's what I'm trying to make sure is covered. The expectation of.
Well, Brian.
So are you looking for maybe some verbiage around an on-call or as needed?
Or also as needed. Yes, something like that. As needed to respond to incidents. Something like that. Just, it's one thing to say it's understood, but unless it's in the wording, that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. It's like an employment contract, right?
Mm-hmm. Doug?
You're muted.
Count your blessings. Something more simple, perhaps, just like be prepared to do daytime, comma, evening, comma, or no comma, and weekend patrol as required to observe. And then if we require him to go and do it, he can respond.
Okay, where would you add that to? Under work schedule?
After and weekend patrol as required.
Top of page,
It's just
Top of
above
page 2.
education, experience, skills. 1, 2, 3, 4 parts above that.
Mm-hmm. Is that good?
But it's not a patrol we're asking of them, is it? A patrol is one thing. A response to an incident is something else.
Can you reread that, Doug, the way you had just?
Be prepared to do daytime, evening, and weekend patrols as required. And a patrol would work because if he's required to do a patrol, he's going to a site or an incident, a complaint, and to respond accordingly. So
yeah,
I think you would just say as required.
I think that pretty well covers it.
Okay, maybe I'm just being anal too. In my mind, there's a difference between patrol and incident response.
I think it's covered. What do you think? I don't know.
I think it is, as required, is through you, your worship.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just get an indication? I apologize, through you, your worship. Can I get an indication from all the council? This is all council's wish to make this one addition here in this section.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, nothing.
Everybody's, yeah.
Good, your worship.
Yep, Doug?
Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. Could we just make that in the form of an amendment, a motion to amend? And then we'd have it seconded, voted on, and then it's officially changed, and then we
Okay.
put the original motion back.
Okay.
So I would move that we amend it to read, be prepared to do daytime, evening, and weekend patrols as required, to observe, make notes, and be prepared to charge and give testimony in provincial offences court.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll give Brian a second there to get that.
Okay, I've got it now.
You got it?
I'll
Got it.
second that.
Okay, Joe's gonna second, moved by Doug and second by Joe. All in favor? Sorry, you had something, Bill?
Yeah, through you, your worship. Originally, we were asking something about the applicants. Could we go back at that? Because we jumped from that to this about rewording. So there was something about who could apply. And I mean, my take on this, it's provincial offenses. And if you leave it open for police officers, they enforce provincial offenses. The only difference is that they also do criminal offenses. But most officers who work for any provincial ministry are strictly provincial offenses. So I'm not sure what the question was, but I know it was brought up originally before we jumped onto this section.
I think we covered it on that one. Let me get back to that.
Could I just make a minor
I think
point?
Matthew covered that, didn't you, Matthew?
Mhm.
Sorry, Doug? Doug?
Can I just make a small point of order? We had a motion, and I believe it
Yeah,
was seconded, and we should have had a vote on the amendment and then gone to other discussion.
Mm-hmm. You're right. We'll get this motion over.
Yeah, could we just call the question and,
Could you? Well, what did? Hang on. Bill's got his hand up again. What?
yeah, but we
I
have
just
to
thought it was all
resolve
part of the whole, I thought it was part of the whole motion, Councilor Wilcox. That's why I asked the question. It was originally started and our CEO brought up the fact that who could apply, and then we jumped over to this and it wasn't resolved. So, I mean, it's all part of the motion, so I don't see why there's a point of motion on. So,
Let's get back to that at first. Let's get back to that original motion then and get it out of the way. You got the motion written, Brian?
Okay, the motion was to amend the language, and I just got to get it here, to state, be prepared to do daytime and/or evening and weekend patrol as required. And the amendment is as required. And we have it moved by Doug and we have it seconded by Joe.
All in favor? Bill?
I abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Matthew?
Further to Councilor Gabbani's point, we did cover off that the provincial offenses could be covered by anybody working within a ministry and or provincial offenses officer, police officer, etc. prior to that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Are you good with that, Bill?
I guess we are. Yes.
Okay, we got another motion here to post our RFP. Everybody's happy with what we're posting on there now? We're good with it? Do you want to read the motion again, Brian, please? We're going to move her and a seconder.
Certainly. Be it resolved that council approve the RFP documents as as amended, and request staff to produce, I'm going to start over. My apologies. Be it resolved that council approve the RFP documents as amended and request staff to proceed with the RFP posting with a final response date of Friday, May 15th, 2020, and a closing time of 2 p.m.
Mover and a seconder. Joe and Angela. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item 4, confirmation bylaw.
Through your worship, be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-20, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the town of Cobalt, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 8th day of May 2020, and further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and recorded in the bylaw book.
Mover and a seconder, please. Doug and Matthew, please. All in favor? Carried. Item 5, adjournment.
Sorry, through your worship. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council be adjourned at
3:35. Moved by Doug and Joe. All in favor? Okay, turn the recording. Have yourselves a good weekend.